chat. Are you guys ready? What is going on, everyone? It is I, the evil genius of professional wrestling, Titus Machiavelli, sitting in as host tonight. Johnny Death drops away on assignment. I get to host instead of sitting in that box. I'm in this box. What are you guys doing? What's going on, chat?
Is this the penalty box?
That is the,
we're in the penalty box.
That's as far as I see it.
Doghouse, penalty box. Oh, we are the big bad bees, right?
Well, you got to be
It's
something.
similar.
What's going on, chat? We got a lot of people. We got Lucas Bradwell, the encyclopedia of Rocky Mountain Pro, in chat. We've got Queen Vampirist. Thor Nelson is there. The founder himself, Mercury Yaden, is in chat. Bart Fast is in there. We got a bunch of you guys there. It's time to talk about episode 354. But before we do that, I got to introduce the dudes. I'm going to do it my own way because I can't do it Johnny's way. First off, on your left-hand side, the guy all the way up in Maine, of all places, the one, the only, the tag team specialist himself, Coastal Crusader.
Thank you so much, Titus. Happy Tuesday, everybody. We are getting recharged. We saw a bonkers main event leading into NRW. We saw, I guess I wouldn't call it a foreign object because everybody's used to it, but we saw the ring used in multiple ways tonight.
We definitely did. And of course, the other half of our tag team tonight, the noob referee himself, the masshole, Maki Pins.
What is good, everybody? It is the Masshole Maki Pins, and so much going on tonight. We hear from Adrian Mascara. We hear from Lilith Grimm for the Luckheads Championship. Briscoe Crown cutting one of the most emotional, heartfelt promos he can get out. CBD answering him in his own kind. We'll get to all this and more tonight right here on Recharged.
Well, apparently we're going to lose one of our fans. D-Hort's going to leave because Johnny's not here, and I get that. D-Hort doesn't like superior intelligence, and that's fine. But we do.
We have a genius hosting. D-Hort.
I know, it's a genius. Self-proclaimed, but that's beside the point. But we do. Let's go ahead and get talking.
Marky?
We have
I'll agree with it.
We have a packed show, guys. Not only are the three of us going to break down for the next 45 minutes this episode of Rocky Mountain Pro, but at the top of the hour, we're going to be joined by the NRW champion himself, Damon Ace, just 2 days shy of his main event match against Mercury Yaden. We heard from Yaden on Sunday, and tonight we get to hear from the champion himself, Damon Ace. So stay tuned for that as well. But gents, let's talk about Charged. Let's talk about Charged. What an unusual opening match. Coastal, what was your thoughts when you saw Mick Diamond and his opponent this evening?
I know Mick has been on a little bit of a roll. He's been getting the W's, but he's been looking better. So maybe I thought at first, okay, this is Mick. Maybe he got this match from, the committee and was like, hey, all right, I'll take it and run and let's see how good I am. Or maybe he asked for it as a measuring stick. Regardless, I think this was one of those, if you shoot for the moon, you'll land in the stars, that saying. Well, unfortunately for Mick Diamond, he shot for the moon and landed very, very, very hard on the pavement. I have seen this man perform in numerous ways. And tonight, the magic trick, unfortunately, did not work. He got slammed extremely hard with a DVD. The pin didn't look very convincing, Marky, but it really, really didn't have to.
No, I don't think
Poor Mick Diamond tonight, for all the steps forward he's taken, Marky. And he looked good in the first part of the match. He really did. He looked really, really good. He really tried. But Marky, is this something that will derail he's taken 5 steps forward. Is this getting not 10 steps back? Is this like do not pass go card, go directly to jail for Monopoly for Mick Diamond, or is this something that maybe he builds on?
Excellent Monopoly reference, by the way. I'm a huge fan. But I think this is something for him to build on. We see him in the last few matches. He's been really trying to stop opponents' momentum, right? A lot of headlocks, a lot of takedowns on the mats and stuff. That doesn't work against the Dalton McKenzie, and he found that out early. He got a couple shots in, a few forearms to the back and the headlock, but he kept going back to the same well. And somebody with the power of Dalton McKenzie, you can't just hope to take a headlock on him and then, maybe he'll get down to a knee. You got to go down to that knee. We saw a chop block, got him down for a second, but not enough high impact offense behind it. And Dalton McKenzie can really kind of brush a lot of that off. And we see the huge spine buster and the Death Valley driver. It took 2 moves for Dalton McKenzie tonight. So massive display of power for Dalton McKenzie. But I think this could be a good learning experience for Mick Diamond. He's got to vary that offense. We've seen it from a lot of the younger ones, Briscoe and some of the other ones that were coming up were using similar off. Then they got into bigger and better opponents, and they had to change a little bit. And I think that's just going to be part of Mick Diamond's growth and evolution, is learning different move sets for different particular opponents. Basically meaning don't just go to a standing headlock against a guy that's twice your size to start the match. Might not be the best way to go.
Might not. My thought was when Mick was walking out, this is his opportunity to maybe meet up with the display that Cushman put on just a number of weeks ago, his tag team partner. And I'm like, all right, now Cushman delivered against Briscoe Crown. I really thought this is Mick Diamond's opportunity. Kind of feels like he drew the short end of the straw. He didn't handle somebody his size. He had to handle somebody 3 times his size. And I think from my perspective, to what you were saying, Marky, I think a little bit of his inexperience showed up in this matchup. What do you think on that, Mark?
I think that's the case. He had lately found some moves and some ways about it that had been working against some other similar sized opponents. Yep. And he went to that same well here. I think in a year from now, he's got a more varied move set. He's got different techniques against guys twice your size as opposed to guys your own size. So like I said, I think this is just part of his evolution as growth as a wrestler.
And speaking of his, Briscoe Crown, we heard from CBD, Coastal. What are your thoughts on CBD's his words for Briscoe Crown tonight?
Well, I mean, I understand. CBD he is defended. He did win that championship from Remy D, who was a great charge champion. We hear that later on, from Briscoe and Briscoe's promo. CBD, I feel, is underestimating Briscoe a little bit. I really do. I think, yes, he buys into the hype that is the bracket buster, that is big match Briscoe and all that. Briscoe's different. This isn't the bracket buster. This isn't even big match Briscoe. We're seeing a different Briscoe that took on Severino Corrente and came out on the other side as this number 1 contender. I think the biggest part here for CBD is he's really looking for a match that's going to benefit him. He knows an Iron Man match or an endurance match wouldn't work because, let's face it, Briscoe's smaller than him in much better shape, honestly, from a cardio standpoint. Not a strength standpoint, a cardio standpoint. So you start looking at all the things. Full rope match. He can make sure Briscoe can't get too far away from him. Mm-hmm. He can't go up to the top without being attached to him. He always knows where he's going to be. I think it's a great idea for CBD to do this. Do I like the man? No. Do I respect his intelligence and do I respect his strategy moving into this match? Absolutely. I think when he opens his mouth, he sounds like a giant verbal diarrhea eruption, but I respect what he does in the ring and I respect his choice for this match, Marky. I really do.
No, and even he says that he has experience in this match, and as the champion, where he picks the stipulation like this, he has that little bit of XP. But we've seen Briscoe come from behind. We've seen Briscoe show that heart, and that's his biggest attribute. I really feel it's not as necessarily his quickness or how fast he's learned. He has one of the biggest hearts in all of RMP, and he keeps himself in matches. And I think that will be his greatest strength in such an unknown to Briscoe Crown, like a bull rope match. I think he will just find ways to outlast CBD, and I do think that we're going to see a changing of the guard here. I think it's Briscoe's time, and I think that this is just yet another obstacle for Briscoe Crown to climb and get over and continue to move forward. Because this kid's career for 2 years has been nothing about moving forward. I don't see anything different here. Taking nothing away from CBD, I just think the momentum is far too hot on Briscoe Crown's side.
Well, we'll talk about Briscoe a little bit later, so we'll put this on the back burner and move on to Lilith Grimm. She had some words for Adrian. We'll talk about Adrian here a little bit later as well, as we heard from her. Lilith felt very, very, I felt very confident in her words, Coastal. What was your thoughts there? In this stipulation for NRW is a submission match, and she didn't seem bothered by that.
She didn't, but I think she is. I don't want to say she's overconfident, because Lilith has worked extremely hard for what she has. She even talks about it. This is something she's chased forever, and now that she has it, she's not going to let it go. But we all know what's harder, becoming the champion or staying the champion. Staying the champion. She's going up against a very game who already has, I believe, a pinfall victory against Lilith Grimm when she wasn't the champion, Adrian Mascara. And we see later on tonight all the steps Adrian is taking, and we'll talk about that later. Lilith is just saying, I have this, I've wanted this for so long, and I'm not going to let it go. That's all well and good, Lilith, and I have all the, faith in you for this, but let's face it, this is a submission match. You don't really have a submission hole unless the Lilithine knocking someone out is considered a submission. And even the Mancuerda, not a submission. It's an extreme, momentum move. It takes everything away from it. Marky, Lilith doesn't have a submission maneuver that we know of. Adrian Mascara does, and we know that. I don't know how this benefits Lilith, Marky.
Well, we saw Lilith kind of adapt that armbar into her Mancuerda, which kind of now does give her that submission.
Okay.
But it's also very new. How long has she been working on this? Is this something that is fluid in her move arsenal? We know Lilith brings the goods, right? Every time we see the Warhammer's music and we hear and we see the grind, all the sparks and everything coming off of it, we know that somebody is in the ring who is about to bring it. But now she has to tweak that. Again, we were talking about Mick Diamond with your own move arsenal. She had to somehow incorporate a submission. She did, but it's also very late in the game when we're talking about NRW just being a couple short days away, where she debuted this less than a week before NRW. So advantage in the submission department, and who's more familiar with it, I believe, goes to Adrian. But many of the other advantages here go to Lilith Grimm, so I can see her confidence. I can feel that. We could almost feel it radiating off of her. I don't think she's taking Adrian lightly, but I think she has that poise and confidence that a champion needs to have going in to her first, the biggest title defense of her young career.
I'm going to throw out both of you guys. Marky brought it up, that Mancuerda into the armbar. I'm going to say, from my perspective, that looked pretty damn fluid. Like she hit it and flew right back in there.
Yeah.
And yes, it's the first time we've seen that combination. It looked very, very smooth, as if she has been working on that particular move, and this is the time to display it. I mean, what are you guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, absolutely. I think that this is something where it does play into her, because if she hits that Mancuerda, she has a size advantage and a strength advantage over Adrian Mascara. If she pulls on those arms, then immediately goes to an armbar, it's game over. If it's going to pull your arm out of your socket, Marky, and then you're going to try and rip it off after, yeah, it's game over.
Basically, everything from the pec muscles up in a Mancuerda are trashed after you've hit it. And then to go right into an armbar where we're trying to really pull it out. Man, if Adrian gets caught in that position, that's going to be a tough one for Adrian.
Yeah.
That's going to be a really tough one with Lilith's power and determination behind it. It is going to be one hell of a fight, though, regardless of how we get to the submission at the end.
And we'll talk more about Adrian, because we did hear from her tonight. But
yes,
we got to head over to singles match action here. A match that we learned last week was supposed to be Manny Lemons versus Bruce. Derek Stone made the announcement to Lord Mitchell Taylor last week that he talked to Dean and he got it fixed by putting Lord Mitchell Taylor into that match instead of Manny Lemons, who again didn't show up. Marky, very interesting matchup. Tell the folks about it.
Yeah, no, very good. Bruce Waynes has the crowd. He has Atiba by his side. Everything's looking good for Chopper City. We know the tumultuous past between Stone and Lord Mitchell Taylor, but I think, and we've talked about it many times, I think we give Stone an A for effort, but like a D- for execution a lot of times. Tonight, it kind of worked in the other favor. Bruce and Lord Mitchell Taylor are having a very good match back and forth. I'm telling you, Lord Mitchell Taylor using the little foreign object in the arm sleeve right when Rafaelis can't see. The man is showing his experience. As much as I don't like it, you got to at least respect the fact he's in the ring with somebody like the final boss and somehow getting away with this in front of a room with 500 some people in it. But he's keeping himself in the match until Bruce kind of takes the power away. Them big corner runs, them corner spears are absolutely huge. Anybody who's been on the receiving end of those knows. But see, Bruce has already had some shoe trouble in this match. Earlier, he body slams Lord Mitchell Taylor for the big prettiest elbow. His shoe comes flying off. And now here in one of the corner runs, his shoe comes flying off of as well. Well, Mitchell Taylor grabs the shoe and gives it to Derek Stone. And I'm thinking Derek Stone's going to go out and start beating him with it or start using it as an actual weapon, chasing Atiba around. You never know what you're going to get out of a Derek Stone. You really don't. You just got to sit and watch. And then the last thing I thought he'd do is what he did. He put the shoe back on to Bruce Waynes' foot, albeit he held onto his leg a little hard. But he puts the shoe on, and at the same time, Lord Mitchell Taylor has the wherewithal to pin Bruce Waynes in Bruce's moment of indecision where he doesn't know what's going on. And Lord Mitchell Taylor gets a win, a big assist out of Derek Stone here. Coastal, it finally worked. Derek finally helped Lord Mitchell Taylor in a way that didn't have anything to do with him saying checkmate.
Well, I don't know if he so much helped him, like maybe it was in his subconscious that he was helping, because I really think he was just trying to put Bruce's shoe back on, and it just kind of worked out for all parties concerned here. Lord Mitchell Taylor took advantage of it. This was just a case of wrong place, wrong time for Bruce. And, Atiba couldn't even help with the absolute randomness that is Derek Stone. Every week, something new happens, and Derek Stone seems to be in the middle of it. This is not so much a big win for Lord Mitchell Taylor. This is a momentum boost going in. They know that their trickery can get a pinfall victory over one half of the team they're facing. Be Manny Lemons is there or not, I have a feeling Derek Stone is going to find his way to ringside with the Grapefruit Dukes or the Lemon Lords or whatever you want to call them.
Grapefruit Dukes.
Yeah, and they're going to, I think he's going to be out there, so they're going to have that. Is it enough to get past Chopper City? We're going to have to find out. If they are on the same page with Derek Stone, that's a very scary thought for Chopper City. If not, Chopper City's walking out with them titles.
Costa, you said that you think he was just helping, and I tend to agree. I don't know if anything Derek Stone does is by design, but it worked out well, and momentum is a big thing in pro wrestling. Mm-hmm. And Lord Mitchell Taylor has not had that since winning the tag team championship with Manny Lemons, because Manny Lemons hasn't been here and kind of left him sort of, lopsided. It was just a few weeks ago that he took on Atiba. Manny Lemons not there. Bruce was there. And of course we talked about the whole shoe thing. Shoes seem to be a thing in this in this feud.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You noticed a little bit lately, yeah.
Yeah.
But I gotta ask the question here, guys. If Manny Lemons is a no-show again, you'd have to assume that Danger Dean, president of RMP, could put maybe Derek Stone into that matchup to replace Manny. Is that better for Lord Mitchell Taylor to have Derek Stone, or is he better off trying to do this handicap style? And remember, it's a Texas Tornado tag match, so there's no tagging in. All men are in the ring.
I gotta say, it might not be the worst idea if Manny didn't show up. Because let's face it, Manny's the smaller guy out of the four of these gentlemen that are in the ring. You put Derek Stone in there, all of a sudden you got a size advantage. And tornado tag team matches are pure chaos, anyways. And we know who really loves chaos and strives under it. That's one Mr. Derek Stone.
That is
Marky,
right up Stone's alley.
I'm putting 2 thumbs up that Manny Lemons shouldn't show up, and it would be in Lord Mitchell Taylor's favor.
I mean, it's 2 completely separate matches. But then again, if you're Lord Mitchell Taylor right now, what do you do, right? Your partner's been leaving you high and dry for weeks. You've been calling him and leaving voicemails left and right. Here's Derek Stone, who is the literal definition of chaos, trying to be your friend, helping you, not helping you. Either way, he's doing something for you, which is more than your absolute champion of a tag team partner is doing. He's not even answering your phone call. So if you're Lord Mitchell Taylor, you can't go into a tornado tag match by yourself against Chopper City. If you have to take Derek Stone, if I'm Lord Mitchell Taylor, I can deal with the chaos for the match, because it generally seems like this guy is out for the betterment of me no matter what, even though his ways have been a little bit questionable.
Unorthodox.
But generally, right is a good way to put it. But generally, it seems like he likes Lord Mitchell Taylor. So if Manny Lemons continues to just be a ghost somewhere, Derek Stone as a partner is better than more than a few other partners you could potentially think about.
Yeah.
Just for the chaos he brings.
I'll throw one more question. Manny does show up. What is the dynamic of that team? It's been weeks. I mean, we haven't seen Manny Lemons in weeks and weeks. So what is the dynamic? Coastal, I'm going to go to you because you're the tag team guy. What is the dynamic of a team defending their tag team championships for the first time since winning it back at Milestone, and not been working together with all this chaos going on? What's the dynamic look like for these two?
There's 2 ways to look at this. The one way is from a traditional tag team perspective where, oh my God, they haven't wrestled together in over a month. This is going to be absolute terrible. They're not going to win. And then there's the way to look at it is they're 2 very successful singles wrestlers. This is a tornado tag team match. It's kind of like 2 singles matches going on at the same time. You could just kind of pick and choose who you want to go after. I don't think chemistry in a tornado match is as big a deal as it is in a traditional wrestling, a tag team match. I still think you need to have some of it, and I think they are going to be hurt by the lack of communication. And the big reason for that is you look on the other side and you have Chopper City, who has wrestled together for a long time. I know they have had their differences in the last 12 months, but that still doesn't negate the however many years they were friends and they wrestled together. So, yeah, I do think even though it's a tornado match, it's not going to hurt as bad. It's still going to hurt.
And Marky, Coastal brings up part of the point I wanted to throw at you, and we'll move on past this after. Chopper City is fluid as a team, even when they were going through all the things that they went through over the last 12 months. They seem to come right back to it once Atiba seemed to pull his head out of his posterior.
Well said.
Does that just make it clear that Chopper City is going to win because of that chemistry they have, and clearly the champions don't? Or do you think that it doesn't make that big of a deal because it is like 2 singles matches going on, like Coastal said?
Well, I mean, all things being equal, you look at on paper, and yeah, the Lemon Lords are the champions, but then you look at Chopper City's history, and you look at that, and you go, on paper, these guys should win the tag team titles from the Lemon Lords right here. But then knowing everything, the roller coasters that they've been down, sometimes to get closer to somebody, you have that fight, and you don't talk for a while, and then you kind of get back together, and then you're closer and tighter than you've ever been. And it's kind of what we've seen once Atiba realized that, get out of this subservience crap with Bruce. Then he kind of listened to Bruce when Bruce said, let's do it my way. Let's do it the right way. And ever since they've been doing it that way, they've looked better and better. The crowd has been loving them more and more. And before tonight, they were getting more and more wins. And we kind of saw Atiba lightening up a whole hell of a lot. So yeah, even though the tornado match, like we're saying, it's a couple singles matches going on, there will be those moments where one team will be in there with just one member of the other team. And then that's when we kick it back to kind of more of a traditional setting where like somebody made a tag and you have an opportunity to have that double team move with your guy. I'm willing to bet that Chopper City has a lot more of those moves in the arsenal than the Lemon Lords do together. I really think that in almost every advantage that counts, Chopper City has the advantage going into NRW, even with the stipulation.
And I'll throw out the last thing here. Derek Stone will be out at ringside, potentially. And that might balance, take that advantage that Chopper City appears to have, because Derek Stone looked like a liability tonight. There was no liability. So it's going to be very interesting. I don't think it's as a clear-cut choice as it looks like on paper, because you do have such chaos going around. And Derek Stone, you never know what he's going to do.
It's a wild card. Huge wild card.
Huge wild card. Let's move on to the remarks from Briscoe Crown. Marky, you had said from at the beginning of the show, very passionate, very personal, and tell the folks what we heard and what your thoughts on that were.
He recognizes the fact that CBD is the champion, and he notes some of the great past champions that were charged champions and Balaam Lynx and such, and Remy D, and he wants to be like them. And now that he's there, he feels the honor of what this whole situation means. He's not just going after the guy. He understands the honor and the prestige of the moment and the opportunity that he has. And you could feel that in his voice, that he loves and respects every bit of this. And then when he hears all the garbage that's being spouted out of CBD's mouth, it's kind of getting him a little upset. But I think he recognizes that CBD's trying to goad him a little bit and trying to get him off of his game a little bit, because lately it seems like when Briscoe's been on his game, it's been very, very hard to beat him. And then he acknowledges the stipulation of the bull rope, and he says that with this bull rope, he's going to stop all of CBD's bullshit. And you could just feel it. You could see it, that he is ready. He's going to take this. He knows it's a big moment. He knows he hasn't been there before, but he is going in with all the confidence that a young man needs in a big moment like this. Coastal, did you get a feeling out of him that it's not about the stipulation? It's not even about CBD. It's about putting his name on that wall of these other great champions and those that came before him. The respect.
I absolutely did. I mean, this was a statement in not so many words. I mean, there was some words there, but he didn't have to say much. You could tell the tone in his voice, the focus he has in his eyes. He didn't care if this was a walk through 10 brick walls and then pin CBD. He's going to do it. After seeing the two promos, I'm going to go with CBD. I'm picking him to lose. And that's what I mean. I'm picking him to lose because although both these promos were great, Briscoe Crown had passion. Briscoe Crown had that thought that he's not going to lose. Briscoe Crown, to me, sounded like a man that will be champion. And CBD sounded like a man hoping to still be champion.
What I took away from Briscoe's words, he invoked the name of Balaam Lynx, a great charge champion, Remy D, who we have not seen or heard a thing from since Milestone, but it's that lineage of that charge championship. You had Severino Corrente held that title, Anaya held that title. Stephen Ashburn held it. Curtis Cole held it. Mario Vanger held it. This is a platform. Damon Ace. This is a platform in which you can go from good Rocky Mountain Pro star to superstar almost overnight. Do you think, we know that Briscoe feels that he's a RMP guy. He's from the Al Snow Wrestling Academy. CBD, he's a bit of an outsider. Do you think that he doesn't see he being CBD, see the importance of that championship, or is he just using it for his prop for the moment to get himself, whatever he's trying to do? Do you see what I'm saying, you guys? That he's got, it's that lineage on one side. Does that hurt CBD by not having that passion, or is it just business for him?
I don't know if he doesn't have the passion. I think they use it in two different ways. I think Briscoe uses the lineage of that title to drive him to get it. He wants to be in that discussion. The title is going to elevate him to another level in his eyes. It's going to get him to that next level. It's a complete 180 on the other side. CBD is using that lineage to elevate him, not the title elevate. It's elevating him. He's using it to shine a light on him rather than using it to shine a light on, oh, I have this title. I'm the holder of this. CBD is over there going, well, I am the owner of this.
Mm-hmm.
He's using it to promote himself rather than the title. And I think in that sense, it's not so much a prop as it is, and this is what makes CBD dangerous, Marky. It's something he can't lose because it elevates him. Honestly, I think it means more to him than it does most people, because without it, he is just a normal person.
I think that's a very valid point. Each of these guys wants to be the charge champion for their own reason. One very selfish and one not selfish, that wants to be a part of this community that's bigger than himself. As a wrestler, you want to be around other great wrestlers to elevate you. We are the same way. In the bowling world, we bowl with better people. It gets us better. Then when you finally do win that title, now you're in a next echelon. And I think Briscoe is looking for that next echelon. He's been paying dues and he's been kicking ass and taking names for a couple years. Here came an outsider who won that title, who's kind of using it for the betterment of himself and to pick up girls outside of Bierstadt. Now, Briscoe is going to use that and walk around and show that I am the champ. I am the workhorse champ. Come fight me. I dare you. We have seen Briscoe never say no to a fight. And especially in a situation like this, there wasn't even a reservation on the kid's face when he found out it was a bull rope match and that he's never been in it before. My money is on Briscoe Crown and that youthful exuberance to get it and put his name on that wall of some other great champions that have walked through RMP. And CBD, to say something about him, maybe he doesn't understand the lineage of Rocky Mountain Pro. But when you come in and you win a major title like that, and you start treating it as though it is your own personal belt and you are using it to knock other people down, do not sit there and expect nobody to come after you for it.
One last thing, something that Briscoe said that really caught my ear was he just out and out said that CBD survives. He doesn't win. He retains, he finds different ways. Is that something that Briscoe needs to keep in he knows it. Is that something you got to keep in the back of his mind and keep an eye on? Because we know that CBD isn't above doing what do it by any means necessary to keep that championship.
Yep. He said it so we don't have to pay $20.
That's right.
Titus, correct me if I'm wrong. In the bull rope match, is this similar to a strap match? Do you have to touch all four corners, or is it just you're attached with the bull rope?
Boy, that's a question for Danger Dean as president, I guess. My assumption is that my assumption would be that you don't have to hit all four, but I don't know that for a fact.
Right. And I didn't know if you did or not. The thing is, with this, there's two ways you can look at it. If he's got to touch all four corners, Briscoe needs to be aware he's probably going to get choked with that rope and trying to get knocked out, because Briscoe's a fast dude. He's got the speed advantage, Marky. CBD is going to slow him down. The only way you could do it is choke him out with that rope or tie him up with the rope. That's something. There's enough of that rope. He could tie his legs together and touch all four corners, or tie him up and pin him. There's numerous ways this rope favors CBD more than it does Briscoe. Especially, as he has said, he's been in these kind of matchups, and so he kind of knows what he wants to do or not do, Marky, and maybe that's a disadvantage for Briscoe, who's
not been in a stipulation match as far as I can recall anything quite like this. This is sort of new for him.
Yeah.
On top of it being his first singles shot at the Charge Championship, it gotta be. I think that's an advantage for CBD. What say you?
I have to agree with you on that one. I think that's the place where CBD does hold an advantage. He's been in this match before. He's already probably got some kind of strategy going on as to what he's going to do. Briscoe's going to have to develop a new strategy. So right from that point, CBD will be ahead of the game. Another place that CBD is ahead of the game is his willingness to literally do anything, anytime, anywhere, whether it's against the rules or not. We saw him beat Remy D by an uppercut to the lower D section. You know, we saw him in a match against Balaam Lynx at Charge just about a month and a half or so ago, and he tried the old switch him up and bang the chair and throw it away, the old Eddie Guerrero right in front of the referee. And that was a ploy because everybody's like, what is he doing? And then the minute that Alice Lane turned her back to get the thing out of the ring, he uppercutted Balaam Lynx right in the cats. So he is a master of deception. He is a master of not being where you think he is. And then at the end of it, winning. Yeah, honestly, if we go through this like the old Atiba rule applies, definitely wear a cup.
One
You're
thing
your
that
athletic supporter.
One thing
Yes.
that I will say as somebody who has as a manager in this company, just because it feels like it's Briscoe Crown's moment, the fact that CBD is willing to do anything to keep that championship and has proven that, as you just
Yes.
said, that cannot be taken out of the equation. You can't just vote with your heart, because a man that desperate is capable of anything. And I think that's something that we need to keep in mind, is that, you know, what tricks are up the sleeve of CBD. But let's move on to, we had another very interesting segment with the number one contender, the Lockettes Championship, Adrian Mascara. She's, man, I gotta tell you, as I said in chat during the show, she's doing film study, she's doing extra, practice, extra training. She's training with the youngest Rocky Mountain Pro champion of all time in. I'm sorry, I'm just blank. I'm just kind of taking Atiba, and then with Echo as well. She really seems like she is elevating her game, as if this might be the only time she's going to get a shot. Marky, what'd you think of this little video package of Adrian getting ready for her match just 2 days from tonight?
I mean, the kid's putting in that work. She's amazingly impressive. She's got Echo down on the mat. Poor Echo. He ate a bunch of cross faces right there, man. You could tell that he was hurting. And even the high five at the end, she gave him one more for good measure. Yeah, one more for good measure. Needed it. Hopefully somebody gave Echo a water after that. He definitely deserved it. But she's looking good. She's sharp. She's got the right mentality of it right now. She's determined. She's ready. She's confident as a submission wrestler. She feels like that's her background. That's where she's comfortable in. So we have two of these women, each of these Lockettes, Lilith Grimm and Adrian Mascara, that are confident in their abilities. Lilith knowing that she can get that armbar in. Adrian knowing that she's trained. She has that psychedelic lock at a moment's notice. And both of these women are absolutely ready. That psychedelic lock is devastating. But then again, so isn't that Men Cuerda. Coastal Adrian Mascara looking really, really good. Having all the right things to say and tapping out all the guys.
Listen, before I saw this, I'm like, okay, I got to go 60-40 Lilith on this. You know, she's on a roll. She's really worked hard to get here. And then I see this and I'm like, well, she's training with the Mockingbird, who can replicate anybody's moveset. So she's really going to see, you know, hopefully a lot of the stuff that Lilith's going to throw at her. And then, you know, oh, it's her first ever, you know, title shot here. She's very young. She's, you know, she goes with Atiba, who's been there, youngest ever Rocky Mountain Pro champion, just like Titus said. She's really covering all her bases here. Right now, this is even money because she's putting in the work. She's putting in the film study. This is a coin flip match. Adrian Mascara is ready. Lilith is ready. I can't wait to see this.
And she has to fight like there is no tomorrow. Adrian Mascara does, because championship opportunities do not just come around like this. How long did Lilith have to fight, scratch, and claw before she finally got her opportunity and then finally beat JC? Like she had to, there was a long, long ladder. And now here is Adrian in this young, very early part of her life and her career having this opportunity. She cannot squander it. She has to put 130% of everything into it. And it really looks like the kid is putting the pedal to the metal.
Something that crossed my mind, guys. I apologize, Coastal, if I interrupted. No. And I don't mean any disrespect to Lilith Grimm. I am on record for a long time as being a fan and really into that and into Lilith. But I have this sort of Rocky feeling. You've got Lilith, the Apollo of this story, the champion, and then you've got the gritty. She's training with men. She's not in there working with other women. She went and got the. I just get this rockiness from Adrian that she's training old school and she's sweating and she's gonna get herself ready. The peak performance. That was my gut when I saw both those promos tonight. I was left feeling like this could be Rocky. What do you guys think of that sort of thought that I had?
Oh, Titus, you must have read my mind, because I was just thinking the difference in these promos. You have Lilith, and this takes nothing away from either person, but you just look at the aesthetics. Lilith is showing off the belt. She is in her ring gear. She is ready to go out. Then you go over the other way. And Adrian's ready, but in a completely different way. There's no ring gear. It's a hoodie. It's sweating. It's hair up and square up, basically. She is ready to fight. Is the wrestler or the fighter going to win here? I don't know. But I kind of got to go with Adrian on this one a little bit, because she looks like she's ready to get down and dirty and do whatever it takes.
Yeah, you're not wrong. There is that vibe, that scrappy vibe, that Rocky One vibe about Adrian Mascara here, and Lilith Grimm carrying herself like the champion that she is, just like Apollo carrying himself as the champion. It has a lot of parallels up until this moment. Does it end like Rocky 1 or does it end like Rocky 2? We are going to find out in 2 very, very short days.
Well, we have got about...
I'm Italian. I got all the
you
Rockies
got all
memorized,
those.
Man.
We got about 7 minutes until we are joined, folks. Damon Ace, the NRW champion, will be joining us in about 7 minutes to talk about his main event match against Mercury Yaden for the NRW championship in an ultimate endurance match. But before we get there, both these guys are involved in our main event. I'm going to let you guys talk about this. We had David Drake. We had, what we had on this side? We had David Drake, Damon Ace, and Jason Knoll. On the other side, Sin Bodhi, Mercury Yaden, and Curtis Cole.
Yeah.
And I missed some of this match. I've got some breaking news that I will share after we're done talking here about NRW. I was kind of doing that. Guys, talk about this matchup.
Marky, go ahead. I'll let you go first, dude.
The first thing I notice about this match is that Curtis Cole wants nothing to do with it. In the beginning part, absolutely zilch, zero, nada, don't care what language you speak, whatever is zero. Right. He doesn't want anything to do with teaming. As a matter of fact, him and Yaden actually go at it in the corner real quick. I think Yaden pushed him off, and they had words with each other. The only thing Curtis Cole wants is a piece of David Drake. And we kind of see it later in the match. Cole gets in, and Drake is there, but then Drake is also tagging out, so then Cole doesn't want anything to do with it. There's just a really weird dynamic. Finally, Damon Ace does catch Curtis Cole, and it's an absolute mess. He whips Damon into the corner, and Coastal, you seen it. Chat, you seen it. I know you seen it. The middle rope broke. It snapped right off the turnbuckle, and it comes in, and Damon Ace, that sick puppy himself, who would be smiling if he heard me call him that right now, takes that turnbuckle and decides to use it and start whacking Curtis Cole in the head with it. This is something that doesn't really happen a hell of a lot. All the guys get in the ring. There's an absolute melee. it just seemed like this thing wasn't going to end. The crowd is going absolutely nuts. And then finally we get Yaden, who does give Jason Knoll the body drop. It seemed like Sin Bodhi and Mercury Yaden on the exact same page the entire time. Drake, Knoll, and Ace are all out there for themselves, but that's kind of one of these honor and thieves moments. And then you got Curtis Cole, who's just kind of the extra on the movie set, at least in this match right here. But they end up ending it with the big black drop and then the pig pile pin on top of Jason Knoll to make the 1-2-3, and they do end up getting a win. It did look like Eli stopped the match, but he did restart it. And then that pig pile pin, if you listen closely, there's another bell in there, and the match ends up ending with Yaden, Cole, and Sin Bodhi getting a win. But there is all kinds of menagerie. And Coastal, if you want to talk about Curtis Cole and David Drake at the very end of this here, this leads into a lot more of what's going on. But the match itself was very, very good. A lot of guys throwing each other around, but we got a couple distinct stories here, 3 distinct stories that are going to wrap themselves up in just a couple short days.
Let's face it, Sin Bodhi and Yaden went out there tonight going, hey, you and I got a chance to do some work on maybe each other's opponents or our own opponents coming up. We got a chance to work them over. Curtis Cole was like, I just hope you guys don't tag me so I can sit back here and hope you do all my dirty work. Which is pretty much par for the course for Curtis Cole, let's face it. He's just hoping that he doesn't get in and get hurt and that somebody could actually hit David Drake and maybe give him an advantage. Well, for poor Curtis Cole, everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong in this. He didn't get his hands on Drake while he was looking at him, and he wound up eating some turnbuckle to go with it. And then he decides to throw himself on top at the end to get a pin because maybe he could just be part of this win. We fast forward to after, and Marky, you and I both know. We both, here in New England, the loudest guys that tell you they're not afraid of you and they'll kick your ass and they want to fight you are the guys that aren't going to throw a fit or aren't going to throw a fist at an ant.
Fact.
He is trying.
More often than not.
Yeah, he is trying to make David Drake think he's not afraid. Meanwhile, Curtis Cole is terrified, in my opinion. He just hopes that like tonight, he was really hoping he could catch him not looking, get in a few shots, hit and move, which he's got to do. I give him all the credit in the world. That's a great strategy, my man. You better hope that he gets in a car accident or falls down a flight of stairs or something before he fights you to even the odds. Because right now, I'm pretty sure you could stab him, spit in his face, and tell him a story, and you're not going to stop him.
Yeah, 3 separate stories here, 3 matches that could come out of this. We know that David Drake and Curtis Cole will be competing for the Rocky Mountain Pro Championship. We know that Mercury Yaden and Damon Ace, who will be joining us in a little bit, will be in the main event for the NRW Championship. And during Charged, I found out that Jason Knoll will, in fact, take on Sin Bodhi in 2 days at NRW. I guess that Rocky Mountain Pro is holding off until the pre-show to tell you what that stipulation is in that matchup. So you want to check out the pre-show, but breaking news, Jason Knoll, Sin Bodhi, NRW. Guys, what do you think about that?
I can't think of more things more terrifying than not knowing what I have to do to beat Sin Bodhi before I go in there. Sin Bodhi's scary enough, but not knowing what I have to do to beat him before I go in there, that's even more scary. I know Jason Knoll is trying to go back to the Diamond Standard, and he's getting that mentality, and he's going to need that against Sin Bodhi because you and I have been in the aura of Sin Bodhi.
Oh, yeah.
And it gets weird.
I tell you, this is the bed that Jason made, and he wanted attention from somebody. He got Sin Bodhi's attention, and this is the absolute way that you find out when effing around commences. So this is going to be something that is going to explode, and the stipulation is just going to be amazing. This is already going to be a hell of a hoss fight. I don't know what stipulation can add to even more of a beat-em-up kind of a match than this is going to be. Right. I'm looking forward to this. Now that it's official, I'm looking forward to this one.
So as the go-home episode of Rocky Mountain Pro Charged ends and we finish up and we're ready for NRW, final thoughts about tonight's episode and maybe a little What does it mean for 48 hours from now? Actually, 46
you,
hours from now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
okay.
a lot of unanswered, a lot of uneasiness, but a lot of things are going to happen. We are going to see some absolute C4 style explosions when people come together. From the main event to the opening, whichever the opening match is going to be. I feel bad for people who have to go on after the previous match because every match on here is an absolute show stealer. I myself am absolutely looking forward to the Lockettes title match because I think that those two ladies are going to absolutely try and steal the show, and they more than likely will succeed. It's a submission match, it's a title match, but that takes nothing away. And as much as I hate him, Curtis Cole has a chance to dethrone possibly the most dominant and most feared Rocky Mountain Pro champion there has been. Marky, Curtis has a chance to make history. I already said what's going to steal the show on my end. I'm excited to hear what you have to say.
You know, the culmination of things between Damon Ace and Mercury Yaden, the furtherment of does this reign of terror of David Drake reign, the reaching the top of the ladder as of right now for Briscoe Crown getting to that Charge Championship match, Adrian Mascara's meteoric rise here, Sergey getting an opportunity to fight for the Ignition Championship on the pre-show. This show has so many fun things, so many terrifying things, and so many interesting things from bell to bell that this is one of the most interesting cards and build-ups that I've seen of a pay-per-view in a very, very long time. I am going to be sitting here watching it with captivating eyes, not missing a minute, and neither should you either. There is going to be a lot going on in just 2 short days. Get your subscription in and check this thing out.
Yeah, how do we not talk about the main event and the pre-show? Jumbo Zamore, who is probably as dominant as I have ever seen Jumbo since winning that Ignition Championship.
So good.
Defending against Sergey, who literally knees his way into a championship match. That is the main event of the pre-show. You can catch it all. All you have to do is hit the join button, hit that pay-per-view, $9.99. That gives you every single big show this company puts on. 6 pay-per-views. Now we're going to have on 6 supercharges as well. All these premiums. Every month, a premium live show to watch. Plus, you get all the emotes and you help support this company as well. We're less than 2 days away from NRW, the sort of special pay-per-view that RMP has where every match has some sort of a stipulation to it. So it just raises that level. And like you said, Marky, it's not just, if it was just the matches themselves without any stipulation, it's still a banger of a show. And almost any of those matches could be a main event. It is NRW, so the NRW Championship main events that show. But then you have the stipulations. There's so much to talk about when it comes to NRW. 2 days away, $9.99. You guys can't miss it. Guys, final thoughts as we await Damon Ace, who I'm under the impression he'll be popping in any moment.
Oh, I can't wait for that because this is going to be a very interesting interview considering what we heard Sunday from Yaden. My final thoughts is this is something you can't miss. If there's Milestone, then there's NRW. You got to be here.
There he is.
Speaking of,
and I need to step away just a moment. I'll be right back, guys.
A good idea.
Well, you do terrify me at times, so yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce our guest at the as Coastal takes a step away. He is the NRW champion. He's in the main event, as we were talking about, just 2 days from now against Mercury Yaden as he defends his NRW championship in the Ultimate Endurance match. Let me set you guys up what this Ultimate Endurance match is. It is 4 separate 15-minute periods. Each period will have a different way to win. You have to win by pinfall or submission or knockout or over the top, throw them in over the top rope. If in that 15 minutes, if you get a pinfall in the first one in a minute, That period ends and you're up 1-0. The person to get 3 out of 4 wins the match and is the NRW champion. And of course, if there's a tie, there will be a sudden death 15-minute period to follow. Mr. Ace, welcome to Recharge. How are you, sir?
I'm well. Thank you for so eloquently explaining the match rules for everybody.
Well, that's kind of my shtick, right?
I appreciate it.
So I know that we're going to have some tensions here, and I just want to make sure everyone plays nicely. I know that Mr. Pins and Mr. Ace had some words a couple of years ago. Mr. Ace.
That was in the past. We've come to an uneasy. I have an uneasy respect for Damon Ace right now. I've refereed his matches. I've stayed out of his way. I understand. I learned what happens when you F around. I give him that respect.
I, of course, will be on my best behavior because Mr. Ace wanted to break my neck at Shocktober just a couple of years ago. So
That was close. I almost did.
yeah, and you're pretty proud of that. But I'm going to keep myself in my corner. Let's get ourselves started. Really going to let the gentlemen here, Coastal and Marky, just kind of, throw their questions out there. I'll do my job as hosting. Mr. Pins, why don't you kick us off?
Hey, Damon.
Hello.
Yes. So I have one big question. I was hoping I got the first question because this has been on my mind for a while. We were there at Milestone. We saw the end. We saw Yaden keep coming back at you and kind of playing the game that you played with him, kind of getting you to do. Why did you give Yaden this? Why did you give him this last opportunity at this? Is it to just end it, or is it just something you need to move on? Why did you give him this? This is something I was very surprised at hearing you talk, the things you said, the way you've said them. Why did you give this to him?
You?
Because you are the champion and you have played games with many people, given them opportunities to win an opportunity, and then you come out and basically give him the kill shot in the corner. And then we've seen you interfere in those moments when he had the opportunity to actually win the opportunity that you were trying to give him. Was it just a mess with him and then give it to him? What's the game? Why would you give him, a dangerous man who wants that championship, one more shot at it?
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest issue that I have had since this started at Shocktober is the fact that match at Shocktober that Mercury Yaden and I had, it was a good match, very, very back and forth. But what upset me was the fact that we ended in a draw. And instead of him coming to me and saying that we need to run this back, there needs to be a definitive winner, I was forced to wrestle Bruce Wayans at Aces Wild in order to get that number one contendership. And then he had a problem with that and told me that I shouldn't go after him, that I should go after David Drake, when in reality, he knew that this was never really just about the NRW title. This was about me wanting to be the best professional wrestler in Rocky Mountain Pro. And this is what I said to him when this all started. I said to him, in my opinion, that man is you. And if I beat you, then it's me. So he knew from the get what my goal was, what my intention was. And when he denied me, and then I won it, and then he still disrespected me and told me that I shouldn't go after him, that I should do something else with my life, to me, that seemed like a man that was trying to run. And so when I finally got that NRW title, I wanted him to feel exactly how I felt. I have to chase you, you're going to have to chase me. You have a number one contendership match, I'm going to ruin it for you. Because you, Mercury Matt Yaden, you knew what it was that I wanted. And I came to you with respect, which is, I would say to both of you and to Titus, relatively out of character for me. I came to you with respect and I asked for that opportunity. I didn't demand, I didn't coerce, I asked. And we did it, and no one won. So in my head, I believe that there needs to be a resolution to that. And he didn't want to give me that. So I continued to do what I needed to do to get back there. And we all know how the story played out from there. That's why I did it. And I think that that's a relatively reasonable answer.
I think that's a very reasonable answer, to
Yes.
be completely honest. Because I was just very, very surprised with the way it's gone back and forth and the way the absolute complete love loss you guys have had. You've injured each other. You've cheered each other. You've done everything to each other. And last time you guys had a match, you came out on top. And I understand that pissed Yaden off the way that came out on top. I remember I was right there. And the look on his face, he chased you all the way to the back. We kind of knew this wasn't going to end. And I'm happy it didn't end because we get to see it one more time. From a fan's perspective, you said it out of your own mouth the very last time. Win, lose, or draw? Are you sticking with that? Win, lose, or draw?
Absolutely. I think that this needs to end. And you know, I listened to what Yaden had to say on Sunday, and
Yep.
I have to be honest. He said a lot of things that were completely rational, that made a lot of sense. And he said it, and I'll say it: win, lose, or draw. This is it. It's gotten to a point now where we are clearly in a personal rivalry, and and I did that. That's by design. But it does need to end. And right now we're tied. And I don't think that you guys, either of you, brought that up at the end of your show. You know, nobody won the Shocktober match. He won the Never Broken match. I won Peak of the Pack. And then I won at Milestone. So actually, we aren't even tied. I'm up 2-1-1.
Now that Milestone, yes, that
Yeah.
gave you the edge. Yes, it did.
However, I played the game I wanted to play with the intention of always giving him the match. I was never going to not give it to him. I just happened to do it. And this wasn't by design. I fully planned on making him wait as long as I had to wait, because I had to wait months. It was October, November, December, January, February, March until I got back to Mercury Yaden. So that's 5 months.
It's true.
That is absolutely.
I made him wait 2. And I think it's rather fitting that this all culminates at the pay-per-view, that this entire belt is centered around. It's like the movie theater ending, you know. But yeah, I never intended to not give it to him, because I want to beat Mercury Yaden. I have beat Mercury Yaden twice.
Before we go to Coastal, I want to make sure that you in chat put your questions in there. When we finish up here, we're going to grab a couple of your questions as well from chat for the NRW champion. And so put those up in there. Mr. Coastal, feel free.
Yeah, Damon, you touched on exactly what my question was going to be, and it was this always your plan? We know you're violently intelligent. We have coined that phrase on here about you many
Thank you for
times.
that
So,
wonderful nickname.
well, it's very truthful. It's not just a nickname. It's the way you conduct yourself in the ring. So you always said you were going to give it to him. Was this something that, I know you said you hadn't planned on doing it this way? Was this just the cards falling in the right way, and NRW was always the end game, and you knew what the stipulation was going to be? Because this stipulation, it's kind of like the match you guys had a draw on. Did you agree to this or choose this because you felt it was unfinished from the first match, and this is a way to make sure that where that was a draw and this is the end, that there are no questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Because every other match that Mercury Yaden and I have had a definitive winner. Whether it was the Never Broken match, whether it was the Peak of the Pack match, whether it was the Milestone match, someone always won. That first match, nobody won. And the wrestler's trial is something that I came up with because, like I said, my intent is to be the best. And it's not just the best in Colorado. It is the best in the world. And I'm not there. If I was, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I'd be off making hundreds of $1,000s somewhere else. But my intention is to get to that level. And the only way you get to that level is to beat men that are better than you. And Mercury Yaden was better than me. Arguably, maybe still is. That's why we're doing this. The wrestler's trial is the wrestling match.
Mm-hmm.
It is the culmination of every single way you could possibly win in professional wrestling. Submission, count out, pinfall, knockout. That's it. Unless of course you start adding in stipulations and other sorts of matches.
No, right, but the basics, that's right
yeah,
there.
correct.
And I thought it was perfect, a way to discover the best person in this match right now.
And the only way in my head to definitively understand who that man is going to be is to have that match. Now, granted, because of how it ended the first time, we all discussed and we created the time limits and we created the draw rule and we created the sudden death rule, because I'm not going to play this game again. I'm not going to go into a draw. Nobody wanted to see that. I was unhappy with it. I'm sure he was unhappy with it. And that is the moment that led us to where we are now, because we had a draw. And I thought, I really thought, you know, if I just go and I say this is not over and we need to do this again, that he would take me up on that. But he didn't. And I don't know why he didn't. I mean, I could say that he's a coward, but I don't think that Matt Yaden is a coward. I don't know why he did it. Anybody else on that roster would have done the same thing. 100% coward, doesn't want to fight me. But I don't think that of the man that I am wrestling in NRW. So I don't know what went through his head. I'm not 100% positive on why we ended up in the place that we did. But now we're here and we're going back to where it all began, and that's the best way that we could possibly do it.
I do want
100%
to remind you, Mr. Ace, that it is tied because Yaden did beat you at Supercharged's tournament just a few weeks ago. Marky.
I'm glad he threw to you on that one.
Well, I didn't know that was, I thought we were talking about the pay-per-view, but technically that is the way that's tied. And I think, you know, just to touch on something that you said, Damon, I think a lot of it was, you know, after that first match and then you win at Peak and you have this opportunity to go after the champion. And I think everybody expected, because I think most everybody would have gone after the heavyweight champion. Do you think that maybe where you kind of say that Yaden wouldn't give you that match to run it back, even though you earned a shot at any champion that you wish, which is a fact, that people were just surprised? Maybe Mercury himself was surprised that you wouldn't go after the biggest belt in the company. As a matter of fact, you kind of downed it in order to actually just get back at Yaden. Do you think maybe that was kind of something that made him go, oh, this guy's out of his head. I don't want to give him this match. If he doesn't want to be the heavyweight champion, what's he even doing? Do you think that might have been a little bit of mind jello?
I mean, it's a possibility, but I don't see that as a valid reason to deny somebody. But my opinion on title belts is vastly different from everybody else's. You know, when I grew up watching this sport, to me it didn't necessarily matter who was the big champion. You know, when we look back on the history of this sport and the greatest of all time and those types of people, I didn't grow up necessarily in the same generation of wrestling as you guys did. Obviously, I'm younger than you. But, and Titus, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure if we're allowed to speak on this, but I'm going to talk about WWE stuff for a second, if that's okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, so in my generation growing up, top guys in the business were John Cena, Edge, Randy Orton. All those guys wrestled almost every WrestleMania that there ever was. And a lot of those times, they weren't champions, but they were always the top guy. We knew who that guy was. So to me, in my opinion, yes, the heavyweight belt is a belt. It is there. But sometimes that doesn't necessarily mean that the guy that's holding it is the best in the company. A lot of times, people that hold those titles are there by circumstance. Yeah, absolutely. There are times where they win the opportunity and then they take those belts. But there are also times where people get screwed out of the belts, and now somebody's holding it, and they just continue to, run away from people or whatever the case may be. It to me, a belt isn't what we love about wrestling. Is it nice to be a champion? Yes. Are the checks nice to be when I'm a champion? Absolutely. But to me, when I am in that ring, I'm in there for a purpose. And my purpose is to be that show stealer that you were talking about. My purpose is to be the guy. And in my opinion, whether I'm right or wrong doesn't necessarily matter. But in my opinion, to be the guy doesn't mean I have to hold the belt.
That's fair. No, that's completely valid. That's
it harkens back to a Ric Flair quote: "To be the man, you got to beat the man. You don't have to win the belt. You got to beat the man." And I think that's exactly what Damon's trying to do here with Yaden. It's not so much about the NRW title. It's a big factor. Don't get me wrong. I think both guys here value that title, but I think
absolutely. I'm not putting down any titles. I don't want anybody to mistake what I am saying here. Titles have their own, relevancy and prestige, but to me, it is not the be all end all of who's the guy.
It's like I said earlier when we were talking about the charge title, and one guy using it to elevate himself, while the other guy uses the title to elevate, uses himself to elevate the title.
Titles don't make the man, the man make the title.
Right.
Yep.
And that's exactly it. This isn't so much for the NRW title as it is so much for I'm the guy I am the top guy that is in this company. So I completely understand that, Damon, and it's a valid point. Now, I know we don't want to look past anything, and we don't want to look past Yaden because you can't. If this goes one way, you don't have a title anymore, and it's kind of at a crossroads. If you do accomplish that, if you do accomplish beating Yaden, we know that it's not like Yaden loses the company, he doesn't lose it. It's a regular match, all intents and purposes, other than the title and you two and the rivalry you have. Are you going to be satisfied? And you said that this was it. This was the end. Is there a way this ends where it's not the end? Because it seems like it's going to be decisive. But again, there's always that, but what if this happened?
No, I think I'm done. I think he's done.
That's okay.
He said something on Sunday that I agree with. It's not to say that, we'll never catch crosshairs again or cross paths, but as far as what has gone on so far, it needs to end. My opinion is this: we've been doing this now for a year. I've wrestled Mercury Yaden countless times, and I think both he and I would like to move forward. I would like to fight other people. But I need, at least for me, I need to have the answer. I need to know who the guy is. It really comes down to where it all started. Yes, I still respect Mercury Yaden. Can I cuss on here?
Up to F, I think, a couple times is kind of where we
leave
draw the line.
Leave the
If
F bomb.
If we're PG-13, we get one F-bomb somewhere.
I think we all get one good one.
Let me recollect then and rephrase what I'm going to say here, because I was about to drop it. I respect Matt Yaden. I dislike who Matt Yaden is as a person and as a wrestler, because of what he did to me. generally speaking, I think Titus Markey will also agree. I don't really like a lot of people. It's kind of why I do what I do to people, because I like doing what I do to people.
He's right, by the way.
But I think that there is a certain degree of respect between both of us. Does that mean that we're not going to go out and try to kill each other and rip each other's heads off and stick it on a pike in my front yard? Absolutely not. But I respect who Mercury Yaden is. And that's why I did what I did. But in a roundabout way to answer your question, no, I'm done. I'm done with what we're doing. I'm sick of it. It needs to end. It's going to be the end. If something happens in a year or 2 years or 3 years or wherever it comes down the line, then so be it. We'll deal with it then. But as far as what has gone on in the current moment, in the present day, I think at NRW, yes, it ends. But to your point, we can both say that. It doesn't necessarily mean that either of us are going to mean it Thursday night.
This is just my opinion on this whole thing. It seems to me like this is where it has to end, because whoever comes out on the losing end of this, if they keep it going at that point, to me, it just seems like you can't let something go.
Right.
So I completely agree. This is the absolute, we need to have a winner. And I think it's going to be, Marky, I think you agree. This is going to be a knockdown drag out.
I think it has to be. Under these circumstances, I think the stipulation is fitting for this. I don't think you can get any other way. Normally, back in the day, it would have been that old school 2 out of 3 fall match that would have decided that was the ender of things. But in this situation, it's elevated far beyond that. And then at NRW, we need something even beyond that. So this particular ultimate endurance type of match, I think, is a great way to put, not necessarily, I'm not taking it lightly, but to absolutely put a bow excuse me, on who is the NRW champion, who is the best guy right now.
Yeah, and I mean, and this is just my opinion, whether you guys agree or whether he agrees, I'm not sure. But I could have picked a stipulation that was more in my favor. I could have said, let's throw in the barbed wire and the tacks and give me the sharp weapons to use against you, because you guys all know I would love nothing more than to drive his face into a pile of thumbtacks. But that's not what this is about. It's never been about that. You know, even in the match that we had when we split the ring apart with a chain, which has never been done before, by the way.
That was really cool, by the way.
That was awesome.
That was a hell of a match.
How many weapons really got involved? There was a chair.
Yeah.
I think that was it. In the chain, here or there, if anything.
But for the most part, he and I just fought each other. Because I think both of us at this point understand that this rivalry, whilst it is personal and it's all going to come out on Thursday and someone's going to get hurt, and I promise you that, it's always been about being the best professional wrestler. Anybody can win a match by driving somebody into a weapon, into barbed wire. You cut your body up and you start bleeding. You can't think straight. You can't breathe right. Your heart doesn't work properly. Those are all real things that could happen. But to me and Mercury Yaden, that's not what this is about. It's never been about that for me. So the ultimate endurance match is the proper way to end this.
We got a couple questions in chat. You guys keep loading those up. We're going to get to those in a few more minutes. I'm going to ask a question, and it's going to be probably testing your temper, Mr. Ace.
Yeah, you like to do that, don't you, Titus?
He was actually pretty calm. I've kind of been impressed how calm and relaxed he's been in just explaining things this evening. We've had other shows where it's gone far worse.
Well, I maintain, and many in the RMP faithful would agree with me, that though you won the NRW championship, you did not beat Mercury Yaden for that championship.
Yes, I did.
Tying somebody's feet up and making them lay there unable to get up, we can debate whether that is a, beating someone. I didn't say you didn't win. I don't think you beat him.
How did I not beat him? Explain.
Because all you did was tie his feet against the ring post, and he couldn't get up. You didn't knock him out. You didn't hit him with a big finishing move and pin him or tap him out. You didn't beat him. You won. There's a difference we talk about a lot with CBD. You don't win on Thursday. Yaden pins you, submits you, wins 3 out of those 4 different periods. Are you really going to say to us and to the faithful that it is over? Knowing that you didn't take
yes,
that
I've already agreed to
championship.
that, but I did beat him. I did. You explain this to me, Titus. What were the rules of the match?
You won the match. I'm not denying that.
So I beat him.
You didn't beat him.
How did I not beat him? Explain.
Because once that tape comes off, he's walking around. If you would have beat him, he would have been beaten.
Lots of people walk around after they get beat in a match.
That's semantics.
All it takes is 3 seconds to get beat in a match.
All right.
Let me ask you this question. Okay, let's go back. The bracket buster, Briscoe Crown. Mousetrap pins Damon Ace to win the Ignition tournament.
Did you just call him Mousetrap?
No, he mousetrap pinned me.
Oh, he mousetrapped pin you.
Learn your pins, referee.
Marky, let's not talk about pins. It
I
ended
just
badly last
asked
time.
a question.
I'm just going back. I'm just using this as an example. He pins me. He beat me because he pinned me. I got up and immediately beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, he did.
True story.
So who walked away, but who got beat?
You got beat because you got pinned.
Okay.
And he walked away.
And I walked away. So if your guideline is I didn't beat him because he got up and walked away, then you have a very warped reality of what professional wrestling is. I beat Mercury Yaden because I am smarter than Mercury Yaden. Period. And I know what this is about. This is about the fact that after that match, when I walked out with that title, I looked you right in the face and I went like this. And you didn't like that. And that's why you have a problem with what I'm saying.
No. But that's a nice try. Mr. Pins, what other questions do you have for the NRW champion?
So let's take the scenario. We have 2 scenarios here. You win and you are still NRW champion going forward. You lose and you are not. Let's take the scenario where you win and you are NRW champion. What kind of NRW champion are you? Do you take on any oncomer? Are you willing to take anybody else on? Let's say if you lose, do you have designs on going after and still being a top guy in a different division, charged or heavyweight? What are your designs? And I'm not saying to look past Mercury Yaden. I'm not saying to do that. Do you have
Well, you kind of are, though.
plans for later? Do you have plans?
I mean, the one thing that's nice about being a champion is my plans don't really matter. They have to come to me now. I don't have to go to them. I'm also of the opinion that if I defeat Mercury Yaden on Thursday at NRW, it puts me in a new category as a wrestler, as a fighter. Because right now, yeah, I'm a staple of the show. Whether people like it or not, I've busted my ass to do that, and I've made sure that I am where I'm at because I care enough about myself to do so. But beating and defeating Mercury Yaden, I believe, puts me in a bracket that nobody else is really in. There are other people that have defeated Mercury Yaden on one night. Anybody can beat anybody on any given night. It takes one good shot. It takes one quick pin. It takes messing up one hold and being reversed to lose a match. It's dangerous. It's hard. And you have to be on your toes at all times, period. You know, even me, I like to believe that I am a devastating force when I step foot in that ring. But again, going back, Briscoe Crown, who is a guy that has never beaten me since that night, beat me that night. And when that happens, you know, it kind of it messes with you a little bit. But my point is that Mercury Yaden's been defeated before, but I don't believe that it's been like this. You know, even you guys spoke on the Hoodlum trial that Mercury Yaden went through. But with Hoodlum, it was different because Hoodlum was trying to take everything away from Yaden. I'm not. I just want to be better than him. And in my opinion, I think deep down, and he's not going to say it to any of you, but I think that hurts him more. Because I still believe a man that is wrestling in his 40s, who is as good as Mercury Yaden is, and is still trying to make it in this business, needs to know how good he is. Yes, he cares about his school. Yes, he cares about his company. But deep down, that man has always wanted to be the best professional wrestler on the planet, just like me. And if I beat him in a professional wrestling match, I think that hurts him a lot more. So yes, it is different in a way than it was with Hoodlum. But I am of the opinion that this match means a lot more than he's letting on. This rivalry means a lot more than he's letting on. And I know I'm being kind of long-winded and I'm ranting now because I know the actual question was what my plans are, but I felt like that was something that needed to be said.
And that kind of goes into it because the match is so very, very big. And I do believe you're honestly correct that this match means, I think Mercury's looking at this. He may not say it or hasn't said it, but looking at this as one of the biggest matches in his career against one of the biggest threats he's ever stepped in the ring with. I think he acknowledged it and he knows it. But he is also Mercury Yaden, and he is your opponent, so he is not going to kind of show that. And I get that. But we both know that you two are very, very strong, both very, very proud men. Is it the first to hit the other guy's ego wins? Or is it just the first to take 3 out of 4? Does that hit the ego?
That's a good question. I honestly think it's a little bit of both. But also at this point, the ego thing, we both have it, but we've both now been put in a position where we've lost to each other. So that ego's already been disrupted. So I don't really know exactly how either of us are going to completely demoralize the other in any way that we haven't already attempted. You know, there was and I'm not going to, spout anybody's personal business, but there was a very Nostradamus thing said in this rivalry that came relatively true, and it hurt him. And maybe I capitalized on that, maybe I didn't. You guys will probably never know. But at the end of the day, I'm not really sure what else either of us can do to devastate the other's ego far enough that somebody's willing to give up or walk away. This comes down to who gets the first 3 out of the 4. But of course, I mean, yeah, a part of it, a percentage at least, is in ego. Whether I score first or he scores first, it puts anybody in a jeopardizing position.
Mm-hmm.
If he scores 2 or I score 2, that's a really big jeopardizing position. And now your ego really does come out. That pride does come out. That warrior spirit, I'm willing to stick a dagger in my belly if I lose this match, has to come out. So
I think the point that for sure is that anyone can win on any given Sunday. Anyone is just a victory roll away from a loss. Let's go to chat real quick. Lucas Bradwell, do you start thinking about your legacy with RMP after this match because of the significance of who your opponent is?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I can go into it deeper, but the answer is absolutely.
If you want to, feel free. Or if that's your point of the matter, it's fine as well.
To me, And whether you want to say it's narcissistic or egotistical or whatever, I really don't care. Yeah, a lot of this has always been about legacy. Because one day I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to be at Rocky Mountain Pro. I'm going to be somewhere else. And I've been very open, clear, and honest with everybody involved that's always been my goal. Marky knows it, Coastal knows it, Titus knows it, everybody knows it. That does not mean that I don't want to leave something greater than just a few matches at Rocky Mountain Pro. I would love nothing more than to be looked back at as an icon, as a Hall of Famer in this company. The only way to do that is to create, leave, and build a legacy in the place that you are working in. I have done everything that I have ever done was to attain a legacy. I would be very grateful, I think, in 10 years to look back at this and say that I not only left a legacy, but I changed the company forever in a good way. Because at the end of the day, yeah, I'm a piece of shit and I get it, and that's fine. I'm not going to hide who I am. Like Yaden said on Sunday, I'm no bullshit. I'm not going to bullshit you. Anybody. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to tell you anything that isn't true. So when I say that legacy is what I'm here to do, then yes, absolutely. That's what it is.
Another question from Tequila Mockingbird. What is your workout / conditioning routine to prepare for this match?
It was the same as it was for Milestone. It's a lot of high intensity interval training, cardio, a lot of body weight lifting, a lot of heavy weight lifting. I've gotten back into, I've done some of my old stuff. I've gotten back into Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu because I know that we have a submission and knockout portion of this match. And those are perishable skills if you do not train them. So I've been doing that. I don't know. I prepped all of that for the Milestone match because I knew I needed to win that. Because if I wouldn't have won that, we wouldn't be sitting here.
Right.
So nothing's really changed as far as my training regime, and I think that's fine. If it's not broke, don't fix it. I won that match. I'm going to win this match, so I'm not going to change anything.
Mr. Fourth Row comes up with the great question. The moniker for this NRW pay-per-view event is No Pain, No Game. No game? It's no gain, right? Or game. All of a sudden, now Mr. Fourth Row's got me confused.
The saying is no pain, no gain. But
It's
I think
game.
the moniker is no pain, no gain.
That's what I thought. I got myself confused there.
They have the arcade cabinet style
arcade
promo
cabinet?
stuff, so.
What is Damon Ace going to do to live up to that at this pay-per-view?
What do you mean?
With the moniker of No Pain, No Game, is there
always
something
painful?
Well, of course.
It's not any different. It's not like this is a very big issue, honestly. I don't know if you guys all know this or not, but that ring kind of hurts a lot. It doesn't feel good for anybody, including me.
Mark, you're muted.
Yeah. Can vouch. It hurts. Yeah.
So I mean I enjoy pain. I also enjoy giving it to others. That doesn't mean that I don't feel it. No pain, no game. Yeah, it's a funny pun, but it doesn't really change anything. It's gonna hurt. And especially now because I understand the position that Mercury Yaden and I are in, it's probably gonna hurt a little more because he and I are gonna go out there and hit each other a little harder. I'm going to try to knock his teeth out every time I punch him in the face. He's probably going to try to break my leg when he submits me. If that is how it goes. I'm just using...
I don't know how you guys could hit each other any harder than how hard you were hitting each other at Milestone with the chairs and then you brought in the barricade gate. There was the superplex onto the chairs. I don't know how you guys are going to be able to hit each other harder, and both of you are able to walk out, let alone somebody win.
No one's
That is
walking
gonna-
out. That's
that
the
is
thing.
gonna
Well,
bring-
somebody's gonna leave, but I don't know if
It's the
anybody's
most
gonna
violent
walk.
match I've ever refereed in my life. I don't know how you're going to get even more violent than that.
That'll happen.
And that's what's scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's fun.
D Hort asks
you-
a question that's a little unrelated to you. Who do you think are going to win in the other matches that are taking place at NRW, the show that you are headlining?
Who do I think is the other one? Okay, I know we have Lilith.
Lilith and Adrian might
Adrian.
be, I think the consensus of the dudes is that might be the sleeper of the show, might be the one that no one's paying attention to, and it might stand out.
Why would nobody be paying attention to it?
Because this card is so very much stacked that something does tend to slip one way or the other. When you're talking about you and Mercury Yaden headlining, of course, David Drake and Curtis Cole for the RMP Championship, Briscoe Crown and CBD for the Charge Championship, the Tornado Tag Team match between Lemon Lords or the Grapefruits of Zest or whatever it is that you're calling them, Coastal. And go ahead.
The Grapefruit Dukes.
The Grapefruit Dukes and Chopper City. So there's a lot of matches up in this show. I think some can take a some people don't pay as much attention to, and I think that Lockette's match is one that people are sleeping on it. They might be wrong.
I would agree. I mean, I wouldn't sleep on it, but if that's the case, then yeah. As far as let's start with my old championship, the Charged title. I firmly believe that Briscoe Crown will win. Do we want to talk about it, or do we want to just move forward?
Yeah,
We'll just move forward.
we can move forward.
Lilith and Adrian. I don't know a ton about Adrian. What I do know about Adrian is that she was an amateur wrestler. She does have a submission background, and this is a submission match. I also know that Lilith Grimm is a beast, very strong, and has built quite a career on a submission that is also a knockout blow. Let's not forget about that. The Lilithine is not only used to submit people. She also drives their skull into the boards of the mat. So there's that.
Fact.
Lilith is slower. Adrian is faster. In a submission style match, that tends to work out in your benefit if the other person doesn't get a hold of your back. If Lilith gets a hold of Adrian's back and has control from there, you're in a really bad way because she's way too strong. If you're always facing the front, you can always escape. You can sprawl, you can move, you can pull guard, you can do all sorts of things from the front. I think that Adrian will probably win that match. Granted, I don't think that will be the last time that they will wrestle. And I don't think that it will be a short-lived moment. But I also don't think that it will be a long-lived moment for Adrian Mascara. If that makes any sense.
Yes, it does.
The David Drake and Curtis Cole match, I think, is kind of the one where I'm not really sure. Because I don't, the episode this evening, Curtis Cole said something that was relatively interesting. He stood at the ring and he told David Drake that he was not afraid of him. Usually if somebody's going to say that and they are hiding the fact that they're afraid of you, they're probably not going to say it to your face 5 feet away from you. But the fact that Curtis Cole stood there and looked David Drake in the face and said, "I'm not scared of you," That says a lot, at least to me, because I believe that David Drake has built a career and a championship title run on the fear of other people. He attempts to play mind games, which is something that I've perfected since the moment I got here. So I see through it all, but it's worked. He beat Bruce Waynes. He beat Sin Bodhi. He beat Dak Draper. All of those guys are phenomenal wrestlers, and he beat them. And they were good matches. I think that they were strongly influenced by what had gone on previous to the match. But I can't deny that he didn't beat those guys. Curtis Cole is also the youngest Rocky Mountain. Well, no, Atiba is, correct?
Correct. He is a Triple Crown champion.
Yes. So it's not like Curtis Cole isn't championship material. Curtis has a lot of experience. Curtis is one of the guys that when I started here, I looked up to a lot. And I've always felt that Curtis Cole is severely underappreciated for who he is. I know that right now, not a lot of people like him. I don't really care one way or the other. When I look at people, I look at what is their capability when I have to wrestle them. And Curtis Cole has a lot of capability. David Drake also has a lot of capability. But I think a lot of this with David Drake is going to come crumbling down at some point. I think when he and Owen Easton had their separation, let's say, I think a lot of this, whatever it is with his mental state, came from that. And I think that David Drake is a hurt little boy who misses his best friend and regrets what he did, and he can't deal with it. So now he doesn't talk anymore, and he grows his facial hair out, and he looks like Wish.com McFoley. And whether Curtis Cole can see that or not is fine. But Curtis Cole also looks like a skinny homeless man too. So like, it's really the battle of, yeah.
Are you trying to say it's bum fights?
No.
Okay.
I do want to bring up, Lucas brought this up in chat, and it's something I was holding on to. I gotta get your take. We're gonna get 2 more questions from chat, and then we'll let the dudes finish up, and we'll call it a night, Mr. Ace. But Lucas brings it up, and I have to ask you about your old running mates, JK Pop, facing La Isla. The losing team has to disband. There's a 50% chance that your old Wake buddies won't be a tag team anymore. What are your thoughts on that matchup?
They're going to be fine. They're going to be fine.
Okay. Last question from the fans.
Wait, we didn't talk about Choppa City and the Lemon
Oh,
Lords.
Of course.
I hope nobody wins that match because I hate all of them.
Fair enough.
You won't have that.
Very
What?
clear.
Bruce Wayne sucks. Atiba sucks. Manny Lemons isn't even here. And Lord Mitchell Taylor is like 60 years old, so they all suck.
Thor Nelson asks, is there a favorite match that you like, Damon Ace?
Favorite match that I like?
I guess basically, what is your favorite match? What do you go to when you could watch wrestling? What,
To like anything that I could watch?
yeah.
I think this is going to come at no surprise to anybody. Okay, well, hold up. Let's do this. Let's make this actually interesting. Marky, what do you think my favorite match is? And
What do I think?
I'll give you a hint. It happened on an NXT brand within the past 5 years.
You got me because I don't really watch a lot of NXT.
I have 2. that
Okay,
it
what
could
do you
be.
got?
The first is either Ilya Dragovich and Gunther, or Walter as he was at the time, for the win, or it's my favorite NXT match of all time, which is Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne in Chicago.
That's a good one. But the first one was correct.
Okay.
It is Walter and Ilya Dragunov NXT UK.
And I know why, because it is one of the most brutal physical matches you will ever watch in your life.
Oh, that's why you asked me if I knew, because it was an absolute chop fest. Oh, right. Yes, yes. Their ribs heal faster than mine did. Ah, I see what you did there. It was funny.
I gotta pull this up. Lucas Bradwell, of course, the encyclopedia of Rocky Mountain Pro, said if Curtis were to win, he would be one of the oldest RMP champions ever.
One of the oldest?
Yeah. Interesting thought. Gentlemen,
Damn.
last question from both of you guys, and we will finish up our evening.
Oh, that's it? I was having fun.
Oh, Damon Ace,
Oh.
Damon Ace. Your
Yeah,
definition
Damon-
of fun is very different than a lot of ours in many different occasions. Although I have to say this has been a lot less aggravated than our other encounters with you in the chat. So I actually have to say this has been a pretty solid interview.
I mean, you guys really haven't said anything to aggravate me. I think a lot of that was you brought that on yourself.
A long time ago, yes, you're not wrong. And
So we've
yeah,
all learned.
those were things.
We've
Hey,
learned,
I knew from the start.
and we've grown, and we
Yeah,
don't
I'm a
make the
Boston
same
boy. I gotta
stupid
learn.
mistakes again that we did previous that almost got our lives ended, right?
Yeah, but you can't kill
Yes.
Marky Pins.
I can.
I never said that. Ever. I just shut my mouth and went to ref school. So stop it, Titus. Stop it.
Damn, he got slammed one time by me and said, you know what? I'm going to be a ref.
It wasn't even the slam, bro. It was the chop, and then I didn't breathe until 2018.
No, you breathed. Believe me, I heard every breath you took that night at the airbed
Oh, yeah.
basement as you wheezed. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's what I heard. I guess my final thought is not so much a question, Damon, we've seen two very different sides of each of this match. I think Sunday we saw a very determined yet very aggressive and angry Mercury Yaden. This is kind of the flip-flop of what I expected to see, because tonight we see you, Damon, you're very confident, very calm. I know it's not going to be that way when the bell rings on Thursday, but is this another part of you telling yourself, I need to keep an even keel because Yaden is who Yaden is, and he knows a lot of the tricks in the game, and you need to be prepared for everything? Just wondering, because most of the time we see you, you're like a caged animal, and you're ready to go, but right now you just seem like you are calm and just taking everything in stride, which is very
I don't know if I
uncharacteristic.
necessarily agree with that.
No?
You say I'm a caged animal, but I think a lot of this is controlled rage.
Okay.
I
yeah.
understand when to unleash what it is that I need to unleash and when not to.
I think, as you said, we've grown and we've learned, and you absolutely have as well.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna sit here and say that I don't have a certain way about me, because that would be incorrect. However, I do believe that other than after the wake died, when I was dealing with all that, other than that, I have always been relatively collected. Whether that is a calm collection or a rageful collection doesn't necessarily matter, but I've never fallen completely over the fence one way or the other. So the caged animal thing, whilst it's dangerous and it sounds cool, I don't necessarily believe myself a caged animal, because that would mean that somebody had to put me in that cage, and nobody has had the balls to attempt to do so.
I think you sometimes put yourself there.
In a cage?
Not in a cage so much, but you make yourself that aggressive animal.
Absolutely, but that's
yeah.
by design, by control.
Okay.
Like I said,
So it's,
like
I didn't mean you were an uncontrollable animal. I didn't mean that at all. What I meant was this is very different. You have controlled the narrative leading up to this match so much. It's not common for what you do. Usually, like you said, it's uncharacteristic of you to go ask for something. Usually you just go take it. Everything here is very, it's not uncharacteristic of you, but
that's
it's a
not
new
going to
style.
change. That's
It's a
not gonna
mature
change.
side of Damon Ace, which I don't know is more scary or It's not concerning. I think it might be more frightening that you're more composed and concerned about this than normal.
That's honestly troubling me over here.
Yeah.
That has been through this entire interview. I was ready for a very, very different Damon Ace, and here we are with a very controlled, has his thoughts in order, has his game plan in order, Damon Ace, after the chaosity that we've seen in others. This is a shocking difference. I don't know. This is a different Damon Ace. This is very different, and there's a lot to watch out for.
Are you uncomfortable?
A little,
No.
I'm not gonna lie. It's not uncomfortable, it's uneasy because we expect one thing, and yeah, that smile right there makes me a little uneasy. I don't know about you, Marky, but yeah, makes me a little uneasy.
It's kind of helpful that we're in Discord land right now, with that smile being
Yeah.
Have you noticed through this view? This is my last question to you, and whether or not you care, it's still relevant because these are your future and your past competitors. Have you noticed with this feud with Yaden going on now for almost this full calendar year? We're only going to be 2 months shy of it from Shocktober to NRW here. Have you noticed the difference in the locker room with the way people associate with either you or Yaden because of how high and how emotionally stressed you guys have brought each other through this? Have you noticed the difference of maybe some of your other friends don't come around and hang out as much? Some of his may not because there's this uneasiness because of the intensity that you two have towards each other.
How many friends do you think I have in the locker room?
2.
I bet
I've
you
been
can
in the
count
locker
them all
room
on one
before.
hand.
I've been in that locker room before, and I can't say that there are very, very many to begin with, but that doesn't mean that I'm always just watching you. I
2.
don't. 2?
Are their names Caden and Johnny?
Yeah.
All right, never mind. Enough said. Okay.
Well, I mean, it's a valid question. I would say that, for me, Johnny and Caden still talk to me. I don't know if anybody else still talks to Yaden. I feel like every time I see Yaden, he just kind of locks himself away in his office, and that's where he stays.
Well, Curtis Cole tried to talk to him while he was peeing his pants about David Drake, but Yaden didn't listen.
Oh, yeah.
And one last follow-up before I'm done. We bring up JK Pop, and we bring up this. Is this just still some unfinished business from the wake that you guys found common cause? Because this is still 3/4 of the wake. Regardless if you're the wake or not, there is still this alliance, and it's blatantly obvious between us.
Blatantly.
It is. It is. They talk
say it.
about you like they love you. They love you.
Let's make sure
Right.
we're clear. There is no wake. It has been
I understand.
so
that.
it's just their friendship.
Titus, he's still so sad about that.
No, I'm just stating a fact.
The Kaiju Buster hurt Titus?
Still standing here, aren't I?
I
just
mean,
watched that.
I ate one too. It sucks. I love how you guys all seem to forget about that.
Oh no,
No,
no. But that's
Here's my one. Those little fuckers got me.
the
I
best
was-
way I've heard them
I was
described.
I was a little
You're not
late
wrong.
on the beep button.
That's why I gave you.
I-
See, I'm trying to be respectful, and I wish you guys would acknowledge that.
All right, we're going to call it a night, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys so much. Remember, NRW just 2 nights away. Thursday night, right here on the YouTube channel. Hit the join button. $9.99 pay-per-view level gives you all of our pay-per-views, all of our big events such as Supercharged coming up just in like 42 hours or so. Damon Ace will defend his NRW championship against Mercury Yaden. David Drake, his RMP championship against Curtis Cole. So many matches. Don't forget the pre-show. You've got Zamore defending against Sergey for the Ignition Championship. And we're going to learn that stipulation for Jason Knoll and Sin Bodhi. Thank you to our guest, Damon Ace the Weapon. Gentlemen, Coastal Crusader, Maki Pins. I, of course, am the evil genius, Titus Machiavelli. See you guys Thursday in chat. Don't miss NRW. See you guys later.